The classroom was nearly empty. The final school bell had rung an hour ago, and most students had already rushed home, eager to escape the day's lessons. But in one quiet corner of the room, a single desk remained occupied. A young student, no, older than 12, sat hunched over a worn-out notebook, his pencil moving slowly as he struggled with a math problem. Across from him, his teacher, Ms. Adams, leaned in with a warm, patient smile. Ms. Adams had been teaching for over a decade, and in that time, she had seen countless students come and go. But something about this boy, Daniel, tugged at her heart. He was quiet, often lost in his thoughts, and though he tried his best, he always seemed to be one step behind the rest of the class. Some days, she noticed him staring out the window, as if his mind was somewhere else, burdened by something far beyond schoolwork. "You're really close, Daniel," she said softly, pointing to the numbers on his page. "Try looking at it this way." She drew a simple diagram in the margin of his notebook, hoping it would click. Daniel sighed, rubbing his eyes. "I just don't get it," he admitted. "I feel like I'm always the last one to understand." Ms. Adams shook her head. "Learning isn't a race," she reassured him. "What matters is that you're trying." She had stayed after school countless times before, helping students who needed extra support, but this time felt different. She could sense that Daniel wasn't just struggling with his schoolwork. There was something deeper. As the minutes passed, the sun dipped lower outside the classroom windows, casting long shadows across the desks. Ms. Adams glanced at the clock and realized how late it was getting. "All right," she said with a gentle laugh. "I think that's enough math for today. Why don't we pick this up tomorrow?" Daniel hesitated before nodding. "Thank you, Ms. Adams," he said quietly, gathering his things. She watched him go, a feeling of unease settling in her chest. There was something in his voice, something unspoken, but before she could dwell on it, she heard footsteps in the hallway. When she turned, she saw Daniel's mother standing by the door. Ms. Adams had met her only once before, during a parent-teacher meeting. She was a woman with kind eyes but a tired expression, as if life had placed too many burdens on her shoulders. Tonight, though, she looked especially troubled. "Ms. Adams," she said softly, stepping into the room, "I just wanted to thank you for helping Daniel. He really needs someone like you." Ms. Adams waved a hand. "Oh, it's no trouble at all," she said. "Daniel's a wonderful kid. He just needs a little extra time, and that's okay." His mother hesitated, as if debating whether to say more. Then, with a small sigh, she nodded. "I just wanted you to know how much it means to us." And with that, she and Daniel disappeared down the hallway, leaving Ms. Adams standing alone in the dimly lit classroom. A strange feeling lingering in the air. She had no way of knowing it at the time, but that small act of kindness, staying late to help a struggling student, was about to change her life in a way she never could have imagined. Because in the days that followed, Daniel's family would return with something completely unexpected, a gift so unbelievable, so life-altering, that it would leave Ms. Adams speechless and forever grateful. Over the next few days, Ms. Adams found herself thinking about Daniel more than usual. She kept an eye on him in class, noticing the way he sat quietly, never drawing attention to himself. He rarely raised his hand, even when she knew he had the answer. It was as if he was afraid of being seen, of standing out. One afternoon, as the students packed up their things, Ms. Adams called him over. "Hey, Daniel," she said, keeping her voice light. "How are you feeling about the math problems we worked on?" Daniel hesitated, his backpack slung over one shoulder. "Better, I think," he said. "I practiced a little at home." "That's great," she said with a smile. "And if you ever need more help, you know I'm here, right?" He nodded, but there was something guarded in his expression, like he wasn't sure if he should believe her. Before she could say more, he muttered a quick goodbye and hurried out the door. Ms. Adams let out a small sigh. She knew there was more to his struggles than just schoolwork, but she couldn't force him to open up. She could only be there, waiting, if he ever chose to trust her. Later that evening, as she graded papers in the quiet of her classroom, she heard a knock at the door. Looking up, she was surprised to see Daniel's mother again, standing there with the same weary expression. "I'm sorry to bother you," she said softly, stepping inside. I felt like I needed to talk to you." Ms. Adams set her papers aside and gestured for her to sit. "Of course. Is everything all right?" Daniel's mother sighed, rubbing her hands together as if searching for the right words. "I wanted to thank you again for helping him," she said. "But there's something you should know." Ms. Adams leaned in, listening carefully. "We've been going through a rough time," his mother admitted. "Daniel's father passed away last year. It's just been the two of us since then. And it hasn't been easy." Ms. Adams felt a pang in her chest. "I'm so sorry," she said. "Sincerely." His mother nodded. Daniel was really close to his dad. They used to do everything together. And after he was gone, it was like a part of Daniel went quiet. He doesn't talk about it much, but I can see it weighing on him. He tries so hard to be strong, but I know he feels lost. Ms. Adams thought about all the times she had seen Daniel staring out the window, lost in thought, the way he hesitated before speaking, the way he always seemed to be carrying something heavier than a child should. "I just wanted you to know," his mother continued, "because what you're doing for him, it matters, more than you realize." Ms. Adams swallowed the lump in her throat. "I'm really glad I can be there for him," she said softly. His mother gave her a tired but grateful smile. "You already have been." That night, Ms. Adams couldn't stop thinking about Daniel. She wished she could take away his pain, but she knew grief wasn't something that disappeared overnight. Still, maybe in her own small way, she could help him find his way through it. The next day, she made a point to check in with him more often. She encouraged him when he got frustrated, praised him when he got something right. Slowly, she saw the smallest changes. He started speaking up more in class, even answering a question here and there. The walls he had built around himself weren't gone, but there were cracks in them now, small openings where light could slip through. Then one afternoon, something unexpected happened. School had just let out, and Ms. Adams was gathering her things when she noticed Daniel lingering near the door. He looked hesitant, like he wasn't sure if he should say something. "What's up, Daniel?" she asked. He shuffled his feet. I wanted to ask you something." "Of course," she said. "Go ahead." He took a breath. "Would you come to dinner at our house?" Ms. Adams blinked in surprise. "Dinner?" He nodded quickly. "My mom wants to thank you. And I do too." Something about the way he said it made her heart swell. "I'd love to," she said warmly. That Friday evening, Ms. Adams arrived at Daniel's home. A modest but cozy little house on a quiet street. Daniel's mother greeted her at the door with a warm smile. The house smelled of home-cooked food, and as she stepped inside, she saw pictures of Daniel and his father on the walls. Throughout dinner, they talked and laughed, and for the first time, Ms. Adams saw Daniel truly relax. He wasn't just her student tonight. He was a kid, smiling and happy, even if just for a little while. Then, just as they were finishing up, Daniel's mother got up and disappeared into the other room. When she returned, she was holding something in her hands. "This is for you," she said, handing Ms. Adams a small box. Ms. Adams frowned, looking at them both. "You didn't have to get me anything." Daniel smiled. "Just open it." Curious, she carefully lifted the lid, and when she saw what was inside, Her breath caught in her throat. It was a gift she never could have expected. Something so deeply personal, so unbelievably touching, that it left her completely speechless. And in that moment, she realized she hadn't just helped Daniel. He had changed her life too. Ms. Adams stared at the box in her hands, her heart pounding with curiosity and emotion. Slowly, she lifted the lid, and as her eyes fell on what was inside, she felt an unexpected lump in her throat. Nestled inside was a neatly folded piece of paper, resting on top of something much older, something that looked like a worn-out leather notebook. She picked up the paper first, unfolding it carefully. As she read the words written in neat, careful handwriting, she felt her eyes sting with tears. Miss Adams, thank you for believing in me when I didn't believe in myself. You didn't just help me with math. You made me feel like I mattered. This belonged to my dad, and now I want you to have it. Her hands trembled slightly as she set the note down and picked up the old notebook. The leather was soft with age, the edges frayed from years of use. When she opened it, she realized it was filled with notes, thoughts, lessons, and little sketches in the margins. Daniel's mother watched her with a soft smile. That was my husband's journal, she explained. He was a teacher too. He used to write down things he learned from his students, little moments that made him proud. He always believed that a good teacher could change a child's life. And I think if he were here, he'd want you to have it. Ms. Adams felt a wave of emotion wash over her. She turned a few pages, reading snippets of wisdom, small reminders about patience, kindness, and the impact of teaching. It was more than just a journal. It was a piece of someone's heart, a legacy passed down from one teacher to another. She looked up at Daniel, who was watching her nervously, as if unsure whether she would accept such a personal gift. Daniel, she said, her voice thick with emotion, This is one of the most meaningful gifts I've ever received. His face lit up with a small but genuine smile. I thought you'd like it. Ms. Adams closed the journal gently, holding it close to her chest. In all her years of teaching, she had never expected something like this. She had always believed in the power of kindness, in the importance of showing up for her students. But she never realized just how much a single act of staying late, of listening, of simply caring could truly mean to someone. That night, as she drove home, she thought about Daniel's father, about the kind of teacher he must have been. She thought about Daniel, about his quiet resilience, and the way he was slowly finding his way forward. And she thought about herself, about how this simple connection had changed her in ways she hadn't even realized. The next day, she placed the journal on her desk, a reminder of why she did what she did, a reminder that teaching was never just about textbooks and tests. It was about people, about moments, about making someone feel seen when they needed it the most. And as Daniel walked into class that morning, catching her eye for just a brief moment before taking his seat, Ms. Adams knew something had shifted, not just in him, but in her too. Because sometimes, the smallest gestures, the ones that seem like nothing at the time, end up meaning everything.